In a world where dreams meet reality, there exists a place where your business can flourish. That place is Shopify. Imagine having the power to craft your online store with tools that make it as easy as a gentle breeze. Whether you're an artisan of handmade wonders, a creator of digital treasures, or a curator of the latest trends, Shopify stands by your side. With its customizable templates, seamless integrations, and support that's always there, your dream store is just a heartbeat away. Join millions of visionaries around the globe and let Shopify guide you on your journey. Visit roguemedianetwork.com/Shopify. That's roguemedianetwork.com/SHOPIFY. And embark on your free trial. Shopify, where your commerce dreams come to life. You just found the perfect product that helps with staying cool during hot summer runs. No more gross warm water. Stay cool with this product from Gear Handle. This hydration tube cover helps keep your water cool and easily accessible. Stay hydrated during those long summer runs or even delay from freezing in the winter. Plus, they're compatible with various brands of water bladders and come in various colors. Visit gearhandle.com and use promo code H2O today.
I am Rachel Ruth Tate, and this is Text Astrology. Hello, everybody out there. Rachel Ruth here, and welcome back to the podcast. In this week's episode, we are talking about the full moon in Aquarius, happening on Thursday, August 11th, at 8:36 p.m. Central Standard Time at 19 degrees of Aquarius. Right off the bat, let me say that I won't sugarcoat this for y'all. You can count on me for the real, and this is quite the real full moon here in Aquarius, the 11th sign in the zodiac, our fixed air sign. I feel like I've been speaking with some emphatic language about these moons lately, and I promise I'm not typically a Debbie Downer or overly dramatic. This is just quite the full moon again. There is some intense astrology around this summer. So, this moon is happening in Aquarius, Saturn's young air sign home, which automatically means dealing with rules, restrictions, and structural issues, Saturn stuff. But what is more, this full moon is within 3 degrees of an exact conjunction with Saturn, currently retrograde at 22 degrees of Aquarius. And that proximity between the full moon and Saturn only enhances the felt and sensed Aquarian significations. So serious sentiments here, you could say. Because the moon, especially the full moon, can be thought of as a cosmic mirror for the earth. It reflects the light of the sun, that life force energy of all things that shines that light back down upon us on this planet. Literally. The moon even lends its own silver hue to the warm golden light of the sun as it reflects off that gray lunar surface. And we see it here on Earth. So with Saturn's Aquarian face filling up that mirror of the moon, we will be feeling and seeing a lot of the Saturnian, like major issues within law and government, historical personal challenges, the stumbling blocks of present-day society, the weight of our individual obligations, etc. We will be inevitably tending to weighty topics, major considerations. And I am not overstating it. Saturn has a grim countenance, and for the next lunar cycle, these upcoming 2 weeks, we will be seeing things tinged with the ring planet's rather negative point of view. Cronus, Saturn's Greek analog, did after all have to castrate his father Ouranos to save his mother Gaia from Ouranos' domination and free Cronus' many siblings. So, with such an origin story, it's not hard to see how Saturn or Cronus got to be cynical and intense. Most all of our pain has an origin story. And those painful stories will be what we are reflecting on during this moon, amongst other serious topics. Think about December of 2020, if you will, and how you felt at that time. That was the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, which only happens every 20 years, and which happened in Aquarius in 2020 and activated the house containing Aquarius in your life. And you don't have to know about houses. Just know that the same area of life that was active then at that time will be reactivated this full moon. Whatever you were most focused on and engaged with in late 2020 is coming back for you. And let me tell you, for you personally, that 2020 focus might not have been the pandemic, but it was likely shaped by the pandemic. 2020 was and always will be a marked year, marked by plague and great restriction. And that intensity, it isn't something we should shy away from. That is, in fact, what Saturn is for. Saturn is for facing down big problems, containing the collective as to avoid anarchy, to structure society, and to make rules for a fairer and more just society. After all, Saturn may rule Capricorn and Aquarius, but it exalts or does its best work in Libra, Venus's cardinal air sign symbolized by the scales of justice. So Saturn at its finest allows for more perfect union, Venus stuff, with its grounding realism and well-managed relationships. There is safety in balance, Saturn in Libra. Speaking of relationships, this full moon in Aquarius also has a tense relationship with Mars, the red planet of action and motion during this lunation. To put it simply, the moon and Saturn will be squaring Mars or relating to it by a 90-degree perpendicular angle from 19 degrees of Aquarius to 25 degrees of Taurus. Think loggerheads, crossroads, impasses. The square is actually an angle of the nature of Mars and its tendency to conflict. With a square, we can't do what we want to. Something non-negotiable has to be negotiated. Two competing forces meet at one point in a square. And this lunation speaks to the fact that something in our lives has to give or break through from our previous limitations or intractable positions. Also, Mars things, breaking limits. Now, to up the ante, I have to mention that Mars is distinctly not alone there in Taurus, tensely squaring the moon even more closely from the same sign from Taurus is Uranus, the strange electric blue tilted planet of shock and change at 18 degrees of Taurus, creating an even more exact square. Exact actually within half of 1 degree at the time of the moon's fullness. Uranus, no surprise, is named for Oranos. That's right, Oranos, the aforementioned infamous father of Cronus or Saturn. Oranos is the original god of the sky and the surrounding heavens. It was his castration by Cronus or Saturn that is supposedly responsible for all life emerging as we know it, including Venus herself. Her Greek analog Aphrodite was born from the sea foam after Oranos' severed genitals dropped into Gaia's ocean and fertilized it, resulting in Venus. So in this Hellenistic creation myth, love was born in and from pain. This speaks to the beauty in the sometimes painful relational exchange and family dynamic. There is something really fundamental and elemental about the lived human experience in that. So warlike Mars and calamitous Uranus will be squaring frigid Saturn and the nurturing moon, this lunation, from Venus's earthy sign of Taurus to Saturn's airborne sign of Aquarius. To jump back, let's step back far enough to view it all together. And here we can see that there is a lot about the Uranus-Cronus-Aphrodite origin story. That myth shape comes into play here. The terrific Venus was born from the terrifying, the castration of Uranus by Cronus. There is ecstasy to be had in agony, and life itself is born in the union and reunion. It is only the magnetism that brings beings together in momentary acts of love that allows life to exist at all. Remember, we can't merge forever in love, or we'll get an Uranus and Gaia situation where something's got to give. And since our human lives, unlike God's, are temporal, all the love we have ever made corresponds to love eventually lost through either the Saturnian reality of old age and death, or the martial reality of separation and severance. Hard truths. And that is where we find ourselves this full moon in Aquarius, looking through the eyes of Cronus specifically, the one who had to make a hard choice to somehow reconcile the dynamic relational tension between his trapped mother Gaia and his overbearing father Uranus. Cronus, who decided to use his sickle to make a space between the earth and the sky for his and all life to be lived. Uranus and Gaia. So Cronus had to fight to create the literal container for existence between them. That is an intense role to play and essential. And in this time, with the state of Earth as it is, we know the container for existence itself is in jeopardy. As the globe warms with the heat of our tension, we worry about the condition of the container between the atmosphere and the Earth's crust. From fire to plague to war to inflation to famine to climate change, finding solutions will also be essential. Like, can we continue to live here the way we are living here? Or will the roof collapse in with all of the carbon emissions and massive methane releases? Or will we bring about the shock of our own annihilation by the great violence of nuclear weaponry we've already created? What can we as individuals even do now to sustain ourselves and our planet? What do we collectively need to scale back to make it better? And how do we come together to move forward? Let us, one and all, lean into the worthiness of that inquiry, those questions, this moment in time we have incarnated into, and step up into the critical Saturnian role that humanity has been given. And inhabiting that Cronus consciousness isn't easy, but we have to sever our connections to the outmoded, life-stifling status quo of ignorance and iniquity that blankets our society, that we ourselves have created, in order to liberate us, the earth and all of her children once again. It is an act of love to fight for such things. And it will require the destruction of things as they have been. Uranus, Mars. This will require amendment of our laws and governing principles, as well as a restructuring of the global economy, especially its energy sector. Saturn. But on the other side of all destruction is inevitable creation. It is the unionizing force, Venus, the truth of attraction, the gravity of all things that causes matter to come together in fixed forms, our love born from, amidst, and despite pain. That dichotomous dual cross we bear being embodied. That's a lot, I know. But hey, you get some additional bonus points if you're currently embodied here in Texas, because the apex of the full moon at 8:36 p.m. Central Standard Time, August 11th, So at that time, Aquarius will be on the rising, the moon just about 8 degrees above the horizon, making available a more visceral and visible experience, as well as a more directly personally affecting lunation. Lucky us, we have a good view. No matter where you're located, there will be plenty of feelings to reconcile and worthy responsibilities to rise up into this moon. So just be ready and willing, and good luck, fellow travelers. Now that I have sufficiently excited us all, let's move on to something a little lighter, and I will summarize what the moon means for each sign. This go around, I am actually going to describe to you what that tense square aspect is going to feel like in your individual sign's case between the moon and Saturn and Mars and Uranus. I'll be optimistic, I promise. As always, I like to use the rising or ascendant signs to give your best horoscope, though you can also use your sect light sign, which is your sun sign if you were born while the sun was above the horizon, or your moon sign if you were born after sunset. And again, there are a ton of apps and sites that will cast your chart. Just be sure to use an exact birth time to get your real rising sign. And if you can't, just use the sect light sign. Now, what this cycle's focus will be for all 12 signs. Aries. Organizational participation versus self-work. Taurus. Collective responsibility versus individual desire. Gemini. Expanding horizons versus reparative rest. Cancer. Intimate commitment versus friendly assembly. Leo. Partnership duties versus public pursuits. Virgo. Daily grind versus elevating experiences. Libra. Creative endeavors versus requisite activities. Scorpio. Private matters versus shared issues. Sagittarius. Community involvement versus task orientation. Capricorn. Honing craft versus having fun. Aquarius. Personal development versus domestic concerns. Pisces. Internal processing versus external expression. And now y'all can noodle on those forecasts as we take a brief break for a word from our sponsors.
You just found the perfect product that helps with staying cool during hot summer runs. No more gross warm water. Stay cool with this product from Gear Handle. This hydration tube cover helps keep your water cool and easily accessible. Stay hydrated during those long summer runs or even delay from freezing in the winter. Plus, they're compatible with various brands of water bladders and come in various colors. Visit gearhandle.com and use promo code H2O today.
Hello again, everybody. Now we will turn our topic from the lunar cycle to my top 3 important transits or planetary movements to watch for over the next 2 weeks following this lunation. Number 1, Mars enters Gemini on Saturday, August 20th at 2:48 a.m. Central Standard Time, where it will remain for a shockingly long 6-month stint until March 25th of 2023, as it will complete its retrograde cycle fully within the sign of Gemini, turning backwards at 25 degrees of Gemini later in the fall on October 30th. Mars, the planet of action, motion, doing, making, and breaking, retrogrades relatively rarely, every 2 years and 2 months or every 26 months, meaning we haven't had a Mars retrograde since, you guessed it, 2020. But it's not starting that cycle yet. We will speak about its backward path in a later episode. But for now, let's go forward with Mars's meaning in the sign of Gemini, Mercury's own mutable air sign home, symbolized by the twins. Gemini is the third sign in the zodiac, and its dual bodies, the two twins, speak to an inherent duality in the experience of any planets in Gemini. All air signs speak to the gaseous state of matter, and as gas relates to human beings, it is primarily oxygen and nitrogen, the breath we breathe, that we are really concerned with. The air element in all three of its zodiacal forms, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, references how we use that air. Communication, expression, thought, media, and Gemini, the most flexible one of the three, can span the entire gamut of human thoughts and points of view and expand into the limitless potentialities of all possible imagination. Mars in Gemini acts and does with its intellect and voice. It makes with its mind and uses its words, characters, symbols, and patterns as its tools. Its pen is its sword, and its conversational charm is its mode of disarming opponents. Let me pull in a couple of famous Mars and Gemini chart examples to illustrate the method of getting things done Gemini style. Martin Luther King Jr., Sean Penn, Franklin Roosevelt, Jimmy Page, Ludwig van Beethoven, Steve Carell, Virginia Woolf. I could go on. All of these people literally made their living and their names with their powers of communication. Think actors, politicians, musicians, comedians, activists, all of the people who move the world with the art of their expression. This is the ability of Mars in Gemini. This lengthy and extended transit of Mars in Gemini begs for us to take advantage of the added oomph behind our articulation. So channel your philosophy and feelings into any containers that can hold them over the next 6 months. So create art, make music that moves you, design your spaces, connect with more people, and above all, remember your thoughts can and will move the needle for this half year. There is much you can and will manifest with your mind, so stay aware of the quality and content of your thoughts. If Mars in Gemini isn't careful, it can become chaotic and mischievous. There is a distinct trickster quality to Mercury, and it can become amplified with Mars in Mercury's sign, like adding fuel to fire. Oxygen fuels fire after all. Be on the lookout for misinformation, slander, plagiarism, spam, scams, corruption, lies, embezzlement, sensationalism, propaganda, and all the myriad of ways that the truth can be lost in some sort of translation. That said, Mars in Gemini is a master of translation. In its highest form, Mars in Gemini translates its dreams into reality, like the famous "I Have a Dream" speech by MLK, and finds novel ways to express age-old universal truths that our modern society and sensibility can understand. Mars in Gemini is also a master of technology and uses media in revolutionary ways, often responsible for the start of trends or moving forward new online aesthetic or platforms. It learns by doing and exploring, and discovery can happen at light speed in the metaverse or on social media. Virality at its finest. This movement of Mars into Gemini will also be a welcome shift from the tense Mars-Saturn square I detailed in the full moon in Aquarius portion of this forecast. As soon as Mars leaves Taurus, where it is now, that hard 90-degree angle instead becomes a flowing 120-degree trine from Mars in Gemini to Saturn in Aquarius. When the malefics share an element and they have that trine aspect, at least they work together and not in tension. Our lesson, Saturn, will be more seamlessly directed towards our actions, Mars. Definitely look for Mars in Gemini to be a thorough education. Second transit. The Sun enters Virgo on Monday, August 22nd at 10:11 p.m. Central Standard Time, where it will remain until September 22nd of this year, its usual stint. We just finished discussing Mars in Gemini, Gemini being one of Mercury's 2 signs, and this transit brings us to the other, Virgo. Virgo is Mercury's yin mutable earth domicile and the 6th sign in the zodiac. It's about processing, differentiation, accounting, and the discernment of material. Virgo takes in the stimulation that Gemini spits out. It is organizational as opposed to ideaphoric. And it helps us keep track of anything and everything, grouping the many things in our lives into meaningful schedules, accounts, containers, etc. The sun always comes into Virgo during this time of year. Virgo speaks to the transition between summer and fall in the Northern Hemisphere, which is that back to school time for almost every kid across the country. It is time to set aside the freedom and self-orientation of vacation and begin to get back into regular social and vocational rhythms. The sun itself also speaks to the flavor of life force energy on the planet, and the sign that it occupies becomes evident in the mode of operation of living beings. The turn of the season, Leo into Virgo season, summer into fall, sees the general focus of life begin to shift from solar themes, like attention, image, vitality, into mercurial themes, like education, exchange, and occupation. Look for more of your time and energy to be spent scheduled and purpose-oriented than this past Leo season. We can go ahead and embrace the daily chores of Virgo season, from ferrying the kids to school and activities to ramping up for the coming busyness of Q4 to inaugurating the newest football season for the NFL. You get it. We're back to work, back to school, back to business after a Leo season of leisure and vacation. And this is something we can embrace. For the first couple of days of the Sun in Virgo transit, Mercury, the ruler of Virgo, will also be co-present in the sign. Bonus points. So maybe use August 22nd, 23rd, and 24th to make headway on some major projects, updates, taxes, administration, medical appointments, or whatever you need to keep totally organized and set in motion without a hitch. The Sun in Virgo suggests that care and careful attention are already in the cards. So don't be surprised if that is what is required or asked for from you. Be alert to the things in your life that require service or maintenance. Handle them as expeditiously as possible. Virgo will help. The fall season's inception always sees us with more chores and a tighter schedule. Beware of the tendency to be overly critical or self-deprecating that might also be afoot for you and those you love. So don't hesitate to offer help or a loving word when it seems needful. Virgo lives for gratitude and appreciation, so spread those around liberally when the chance arises. Acknowledgement goes a long, long way. That's good advice, not just for Virgo season, but all the time, especially when it comes to the Virgos in your life, those sacred caregivers and loving keepers. Transit number 3. Mercury enters Libra on Thursday, August 25th at 7:58 p.m. Central Standard Time, where it will remain on and off until October 30th of this year. Yes, that October 30th date again, as Mercury too has a retrograde cycle taking place during its own upcoming transit through Libra, sliding for a short period of time back into Virgo as well. Though Mercury, the planet of thought, communication, expression, and mental engagement, may rule and exalt in Virgo, it is also one of the triplicity rulers of air signs, giving it a nice bit of power, ability, and agency in the sign of Libra, Venus's cardinal air sign domicile, the 7th sign in the zodiac. Libra is the masculine or yang sign of Venus, the feminine yin being Taurus, making Libra the outward expression of Venus's sort of love and beauty. Mercury in Libra speaks to the development of our aesthetic, the unionizing potential of language, the creation of art, and the socially connective power of commerce and exchange. Like how crucial, for example, was the spice trade in the establishment of our modern world. Beautiful flavors brought the globe together, starting even BC, and often fetched higher prices by weight than gold. Mercury in Libra prioritizes finesse, expression, balance, and often sets trends as well. It is a cardinal sign after all. It literally initiates and directs beautiful things. Libra, being the scales, can often weigh the potential of a novel concept or the elemental archetypes behind an idea and understand their value in the court of public opinion. Because Libra is inevitably relational, the scales can't help but measure what's on them. Mercury in Libra has a keen understanding of taste and a remarkable ability to strike the right conversational chord with the party on the receiving end of its attention. It can most certainly charm, not just a Gemini thing. While Mercury is initially direct in Libra, which it will be until it turns retrograde September 10th, so until then, we may do well to turn on some of that charm, because Libra relates to the signs of Aquarius, where Saturn is, and Gemini, where Mars will be, by a soft 120-degree trine angle, both of them, meaning our mercurial mental faculties will be flowing easily, that trine, into the challenges of both of our malefics, Mars and Saturn, instead of meeting them tensely in a hard angle like an opposition or square. That means our thought, expression, and deal-making will come to better ends, helping us instead of hindering us. Expect fewer foot-and-mouth scenarios or acrimonious heated exchanges. Mercury in Libra is a great time for crafting deeply felt apologies, beginning to buy holiday gifts, offering sincere compliments, spending time with siblings, calling up old friends, beginning creative projects, marketing your goods or services, and applying for any sort of program that you desire entry into. During this initial transit of Mercury through Libra, you know that interview will go well. Because you are aware that Mercury will be doing its retrograde dance here soon, right? Definitely keep an eye out for burgeoning ideas that could benefit from refinement. So what's rising up that could use a little bit of editing? Maybe business plans that could use reworking, or relationships that might need a bit of mending, as those sorts of significations and pursuits are definitely on the menu for this later Mercury retrograde through Libra. There will definitely be a thing or two that you want to intellectually revisit over the next month. Since Mercury does retrograde multiple times a year, and this time it's doing so in two signs, Libra into Virgo, but these two signs, in both of them, it retains significant power and ability, so don't fret. Perhaps while it is retrograde, we may stay away from signing permanent contracts or selling big-ticket items like a house or car, and we can use that energy to do something more thematically appropriate for a retrograde, like editing a written book or redecorating or some such. Now is also a great time to ask and answer the eternal question while Mercury's in Libra. Who and what do I love? And how do I express my love? Mercury in Libra, above all signs, would love to assist. And I would now love to synthesize and summarize the upcoming quality of time in a few words for y'all. So these next couple of weeks will be impactful, intellectual, valuable, heady, and connective. Let those wash over you, and let's go over some simple do's and don'ts to wrap up this particular lunar cycle. Do, acknowledge, appreciate, and extend gratitude to all of the helpers and advocates in your life, since they are essential and none of us do this alone. Don't allow yourself to be manipulated into giving an inappropriate amount of time or attention to the prerogatives of others, as this can give rise to an ungrateful attitude and overtaxed mindset. Do create containers for your essential creativity and let your mind and heart soar into expressive art or meaningful conversation. Don't get so caught up in the beauty of your imagination that you disregard your responsibilities or fail to listen to others while thinking about what you'll say next. Do set yourself up for success and take adequate time and energy to arrange important aspects of your life and schedule. Don't agree to commitments that conflict with essential activities or overburden you and drain your resources, as your own initiatives are always paramount. And that wraps up this full moon in Aquarius edition of the show. Stay strong, balanced, and healthy as we navigate the next 2 weeks of this upcoming lunar cycle. Until next time, everybody. That's it for this episode, folks. Meet me here every full and new moon for more cosmic wisdom. For now, you can find me on Instagram at Rachel Ruth Tate and at Astrology, or between the pages of my book, Meditations on Being, available on Amazon and wherever else you purchase books.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.
In a world where dreams meet reality, there exists a place where your business can flourish. That place is Shopify. Imagine having the power to craft your online store with tools that make it as easy as a gentle breeze. Whether you're an artisan of handmade wonders, a creator of digital treasures, or a curator of the latest trends, Shopify stands by your side. With its customizable templates, seamless integrations, and support that's always there, your dream store is just a heartbeat away. Join millions of visionaries around the globe and let Shopify guide you on your journey. Visit roguemedianetwork.com/Shopify. That's roguemedianetwork.com/SHOPIFY. And embark on your free trial. Shopify, where your commerce dreams come to life.